My name is Jen Sputek. I'm from Calgary. I am an ex-offender. I was recently released from prison about a year ago. In 2008, I went to prison for trafficking cocaine, and when I got out, I had nowhere to go. Maybe to give you a little bit of background history, most of my life I've spent in and out of the system. My mom gave up custody of me in about 1990. I grew up in young offender centers, group homes, on the streets. I was involved in child prostitution. I was a crack addict by the time I was 14. By the time I was 16, I was serving 18 months for armed robbery, and I turned that 18 months into almost 6 years. When I was 23, I found out I was pregnant with twins, and I really tried to be that suburban mom. But for those of you out there who know me, I don't really fit into that cookie cutter shape. The problem with me living out in the suburbs was my husband was a crack dealer. So even though we tried to put on the good front, we were still committing crime. On August 1st, 2001, my husband overdosed on morphine in bed beside me. I woke up and he was dead. I had no education, I had no job skills, I had no support, I had twin baby boys. I applied for widow's pension and orphan's benefits, and I was turned down. I was turned down because my husband didn't put enough money into the plan for me to collect. When I went to welfare, they turned me down as well. They told me that I was employable. So I started to sell crack. For 10 years, I sold crack, and I functioned in the community. I was a public speaker for a local halfway house. I was a community resource coordinator. I worked at a local newspaper for a small town, and the whole time I sold dope. But I wasn't selling dope to become rich. I didn't live in a 6-bedroom house. I didn't have 6 cars. My kids did not go to a private school. I was selling crack because when I did the math on my salary, I was making about $15 an hour. I have an autistic son, and my childcare was costing me $19 an hour. So right off the hop, I was already $4 behind. In 2008, I was arrested. My children went into foster care. And when I got out, I was released with the clothes on my back. I had to go to a halfway house, but I was only allowed to stay there for 30 days. Within that 30 days, I did everything I possibly could to get into subsidized housing. And with a little bit of luck, and I call it a little bit of Jen magic, I managed to get into subsidized housing. I moved in on August 1st, 2010. By October 2010, I had gotten my children back from social services. I have full custody. By July 2011, I had finished all of my sentence, all of my community sentence, all of my parole, and I started to volunteer with a group called Inside Out. Inside Out is a group of 5 women of lived experience. We've all been in prison. And we work with some professors, we work with the Calgary Homeless Foundation, and we work with some community members. And we're trying to identify gaps in services for women coming out of prison. One of the biggest gaps that we've seen is peer support, that these women don't have people to go and talk to. And that's not that I'm not saying that the service providers aren't fabulous, because you are. But when you haven't walked in those shoes, sometimes it's very hard to open up and talk to somebody about where you've been. Being in prison is a very shameful experience, and especially when you're a woman, you carry that stigma. So with my group, what we're hoping to do is start a peer support program for women, expand it to men, and move on to children. But I can tell you, standing up here, that if it had not been with the help from the Calgary Homeless Foundation, if it had not been for subsidized housing, I would not be standing here right now. I would not be standing here as a community member. I would not be standing here as a pro-social citizen. I would probably be doing exactly what I was doing because I thought that that was the only choice that I had to support my family. So I would like to extend my thanks to everybody who has put their work into the 10-year plan to end homelessness, because even though there is still a lot of work to do, there are still lots of people out there who need a home. They are helping people. They are helping people like me. They're helping families like me, and they're helping us become a part of that community. So thank you very much for having me this morning.